Well, good morning, folks. Thank you for joining us for SmartFarm Part 2, the Ag Sharks. We'll be following up Bart Walker's discussion with some startups and growers with another startup panel. And this is going to sound weird when I introduce myself, but I'm supposed to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Western Growers. Please silence your cell phones as well. Everyone's pretty good at that by now. And as with the first program, Certified Crop Advisors CEUs are available for this session. Make sure to sign in on the sheet at the back of the room or scan the QR code after the session to receive your credit. So I'm Walt Duflock, the VP of Innovation for the aforementioned Western Growers. We are very happy to be sponsoring the event and working with the OGS team. I'm a fifth-generation family farmer from South Monterey County. Our ranch operates cattle, wine grapes, and leafy greens. I've also had a 30-year career in Silicon Valley working with tech startups, including eBay and 3 others that were acquired. The last 5 years, I've moved back to Salinas Valley in a big way with ag tech and had a lot of fun building the top accelerator at Thrive and joining Western Growers last year to drive innovation. We're focusing on solving ag's toughest challenges. You saw it in ag slide in Bart's deck if you were here. It's still labor, water, and food safety, or as Bart calls it, regulations, right? Those are still the 3 biggest challenges. They were the challenges at our kitchen table when I grew up. They're the challenges now today. And today's panelists are 5 innovators that are helping to solve and address these problems. All 5 were selected from over 100 applicants to participate in AgSharks, which is an annual competition that started in 2017 as part of the Western Growers annual meeting. At AgShark, startups share their solutions with the world's largest specialty crop growers at our annual meeting, and one lucky winner is selected by a panel of investors and growers for a chance at $250,000 or more in investment from our partners, S2G, as well as mentoring and field trials from Western Growers and our members to help prove that these solutions actually work. You heard a lot in Bart's panel, if you were here, about the importance of field trials and grower conversations. I could not agree more. I think one of our key jobs at Western Growers is to facilitate those conversations and make them happen even better. One of the things we're kicking off this month, actually, now that it's December, and into next year, is case studies about those field trials so that growers can do less field trials themselves and share the case studies across the grower community. So that's a big deliverable in 2022 for Western Growers and our Center for Innovation in Tech, is case studies to tell these stories. So all 5 of these startups are available to get these conversations started here with these presentations and in the exhibit area in the Western Grower booth. Come by and see them, get these conversations started. As Bart said, there's nothing like a conversation with a grower to help a startup understand just how much they need to learn. And I think you'll hear that today as well. So with that, we're going to have these 5 startups pitch their solutions to you and get these conversations started. And I will kick things off by bringing Bruce Caldwell, the CEO and founder of 3Bar Biologics, up to the stage.
You hear me okay? Yep. Okay, good. Well, good morning. I'm Bruce Caldwell from Columbus, Ohio. I'm the founder and CEO of 3Bar Biologics. I'm excited to talk to you just for a couple of minutes this morning about what 3Bar is doing to activate the power of microbes for production agriculture. And so as a group of organic growers, I know you've probably all had a range of experiences with biologics and microbial products as inputs. And, you know, there's a lot of excitement in the industry today around this sector for a lot of great reasons. You know, the opportunity to drive productivity while reducing our dependence on synthetic fertilizers and synthetic pesticides is really attractive to everybody. But we're not going to see biologics and microbials really displace a lot of synthetics until we address what I see as the biggest issue in this whole sector, and that is consistency of the in-field performance and economics, both for the grower as well as for the manufacturers. So that's what we're working on at 3Bar Biologics, and it really comes down to supply chain and shelf life. So if you can just imagine the supply chain that a living microbial product has to go through to get to the farm gate and to get applied to the crop, multiple steps of manufacturing, multiple steps of storage and distribution. And frequently, a product is many months, in some cases years old, stored at a range of conditions, sometimes pretty hot conditions and variable conditions. And so, unfortunately, frequently what happens is a significant loss of viability of the product from the time it was manufactured to the time it gets applied. This supply chain was designed for synthetic chemicals, and we're trying to force these living microbial products through the same supply chain. That's resulting in this inconsistent performance. It's resulting in a poor return on investment in many use cases, both for the farmer, but also for the manufacturers of these products. I experienced this problem directly. My last corporate role, I was the head of R&D at a company called Scott's Miracle-Gro, the lawn and garden company. And we were working to launch a lot of natural organic solutions for homeowners. Working to reapply these biologics from agriculture into consumer lawn and garden. And long story short, we could never put anything on the shelf because of this problem. The live microbial products could not survive the supply chain. So what we've come up with to overcome this issue, we call our live microbe just-in-time fermentation technology. Essentially what we're doing is growing the population of beneficial microbe in the final package. And this overcomes a lot of those challenging steps that occur through the supply chain. We're achieving better shelf life by stabilizing the live microbe in a dry form up in the cap, that upper chamber, and it's attached to a disposable bag which contains liquid growth medium. With a simple push of a button, combines those living cultures into that liquid growth medium, and in 24 to 48 hours at room temperature, a very healthy population of the beneficial microbe has been grown without the chance of contamination. That allows us to guarantee 100% viability at the point of use. It allows us to guarantee 100% purity. And those are claims that no other fermenter in the industry can make today. So because we're working on a disruptive approach to delivering live microbes, we're not a discovery company. There are a lot of great companies, you're about to hear from another one, that are doing that discovery work. But what we're focused on is how do we take those discoveries and bridge the gap between the research and what's available commercially to make sure that the farmer can get the same result that the researchers are getting when they're generating this exciting data. So the lawyers wouldn't let me show you exactly all the companies that we're talking with and working with, so I had to blur these out. You'll have to take a guess. But suffice to say, we're working with a broad range of companies in the industry. If they are into microbial products, we don't see them as a competitor. We see them as a potential collaborator because our technology is an enabling technology to improve the performance, improve the economics of the entire sector. We've actually got joint development projects going on today with 10 different companies in the industry. And our goal with these joint development projects is to create a unique formulation package for our partner's unique microbe for a specific crop, specific application. And ultimately, we want to become the gold standard on how these live microbe products are formulated, packaged, and manufactured. And ultimately, we want to become the manufacturer of record. We're building our manufacturing capacity right now so that we can have more commercial launches, just like we did with Pivot Bio as we launched their Pivot Proven product in 2019. Company revenue today is a little under $4 million. In 2021, we'll break $1 million in revenue, and we're going to be expanding that dramatically in the next couple of years. Okay, so we've got a very experienced microbial innovation team. So, my background and the technical team around us has deep experience in-field viability of living microbial products and packaging. And on the business side, we've got deep experience in business-to-business partnerships. We are seeking our Series A round of fundraising right now. So I know most of you are growers, but some of you are also manufacturers. And if there's any investors in the room, I would love to talk with all of you. So I appreciate your attention and would certainly invite any questions you might have about what we're doing, or if you want to share any experiences you've had with microbial products. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much, Bruce. And what we're going to do for questions, folks, is actually hold the questions until the end, and we'll get all 5 sharks up on the stage at that point. So with that, I'm going to welcome our second presenter to the stage, and this is Jamie Batcher, co-founder and CEO of Boost Biomes. Jamie?
Morning, everybody. I'm here to tell you today about Boost Biomes and our microbiome platform for developing new microbial products for food and for agriculture. Now, again, I'm going to sort of repeat myself from the AgSharks, where Bruce serves as a great introduction to Boost Biomes in the sense of the challenges of microbial products. And I don't think I need to tell people in this room, the organic folks, that there are market forces that are making chemicals less attractive. It's already less attractive if you're in organics. For those of you that do mixed, of course, you're looking at mixed organic and conventional. Of course, this will apply to what's going on the conventional side. But there are forces that are changing the availability and usefulness of chemical products, from sustainability goals to consumer preferences and legislation that addresses those things. And as Bruce has outlined, historically, biologicals have had challenges. Historically, people developing microbial products have had a very simplified view of how microbials are working in the soil as products. So they've taken the view that there's a bad microbe, shown here in red, it's harming the crop. If we can only find a good microbe to stop the bad microbe, then everybody's going to be happy. Well, that's true, as simple as it sounds, but these products have typically had a lot of challenges. They've had challenges in efficacy, reliability, stability, and translation from the lab to the field. And we think that the reason for this is because this is a very simple approach. It doesn't take into account the fact that what's going on in the soil is a very complex ecosystem. It's not just the good microbe, the bad microbe in the plant. There's thousands of different types of microbes in every gram of soil. And so it's not just the bad microbe in the plant. There's many, many other microbes in that space. And those microbes all interact with each other. Some of them positively, shown here in blue. Some of them negatively or antagonistically, preventing each other's growth, shown here in red. Boost's unique technology lets us understand that complete set of interactions. We call that the interactome, the complete set of microbial interactions. So our unique data set lets us generate maps of those interactions. And this is what that really looks like. As it turns out, this isn't just beneficial in the soil, it's beneficial basically from front to back. In terms of production, stability, and efficacy, fermenting the two microbes together gives you a better product than fermenting either microbe in our lead product, either microbe apart and then mixing them. We get more effective product by having the two microbes together in the soil. And turns out it's a very effective product at stopping powdery mildew, botrytis, and many other fungal pathogens in our one lead product that I'm using as an example here. By the way, our one lead product is formulated dry, stable, shelf stable, for as long as you want. We've used this platform and turned the crank on it to develop a number of additional products. So what I'm showing you here is the path to market for our pipeline of products. The biofungicide, product number 1 that I just mentioned, is the most advanced. It'll be on the market in about a year from now. Right now, we are recruiting for grower trials who'd like to test it out, especially in grapes, but we'd like to discuss that with anyone who's interested. Our second product is a broad antimicrobial product that particularly addresses critical unmet needs. So vascular diseases like Pierce's disease in grapes, almond scorch, Panama disease in bananas. We even think there might be some efficacy in HLB, citrus greening. Let's see. And I'm not going to walk through all of these, but the point is that we've developed a diversified portfolio of products using our platform technology. Who are we? We are an experienced team of biotechnologists. My own background is now almost 15 years in startup biotech space. Almost 5 years now in the ag space with Boost Biomes, but we've also seen very closely related industries like biofuels back in those days. Our Chief Scientific Officer, James Pierce, came to us most recently before Boost from Monsanto. where he led their microbials discovery site. So pretty much as perfect of a background as we could hope for. Neil Gutterson is the chair of our board of directors. He's got a background in 40-odd years of agricultural biotechnology, recently retired as the chief technology officer at Corteva, and now works with Radical Growth Ventures. Also, by the way, moderating the next session, I believe. You can see some of our investors. With that, thanks very much. Please come and see us at our booth. Please, if you're interested in trials, please do reach out. We'd love to discuss with you.
That's great. Thanks, Jamie. And just a word, a lot of you folks might be seeing these companies on stage for the first time. These are not brand new startups, right? I've worked with these companies, a couple of them from Thrive Days for 3, 4, 5 years now. So the classic overnight success in ag tech takes about 5 years. That's how they got through the vetting process, right? Across 100 applicants is by being out there and doing this stuff for a few years. So with that, want to welcome a very interesting company to the stage, and Clark Easter, the co-founder and CEO of Global Water Innovations. Please come up and tell us about your water solution, Clark.
This is probably not news to you all. We have a serious water problem. And if we look at the western states, 50 million acre-feet of irrigation, we're now short about 12 million acre-feet a year in those western states. And it's not getting any better. Just in California, we've got a 3 million acre-foot a year shortage. And you're going to see those trends are starting to kick into real impact on your livelihoods. Sigma here in California, if you look at the groundwater plans that are coming out, Ventura County, other places, we're looking at cuts of 30 to 45%. And Colorado River Basin, Arizona is about to take a major hit this year. Simultaneously, we have a second problem that most people don't even talk about, and that is salt buildup in our groundwater basins. It's extraordinarily serious. They did a very interesting satellite study last year, a couple years ago actually, they looked at the salinity in the Central Valley and then literally matched it against every farmer's production. They basically calculated we're already losing $3 billion a year of production just in the Central Valley. I've got farmers in Ventura, they can't even use their well water anymore because of the salinity that's slowly building up. So we've got two key problems, water and salt buildup in our basins. One of the most interesting things to me is I think everybody looks at the situation from the wrong viewpoint. They're all looking at, if you look at this chart up there, on the right-hand side, there's a little blue line across the very top of the grid. That's 1 billion acre-feet of fresh water supplies here in California. If you look at the rest of the grid, there's 50 billion feet of brackish groundwater reserves here in California. Everybody, when you look at in the context of a 3 million acre-foot a year shortage here in California, you compare that to 50 billion acre-feet of reserves, you realize that something different has to happen. It isn't that we're running out of water, it's that we're running out of fresh water. And our company was founded 5 years ago to solve a very specific problem. We were like, why can't that water be used today? Not only brackish groundwater, seawater intrusion along our coast, certainly Salinas is a great example of that, tailwater runoff, even sewer plant effluent. Why isn't this being used for agriculture? And so we began to really dig into it. We became a founding member of something called the National Alliance for Water Innovation, which is a group out of Lawrence, Berkeley. It's now been funded by the Department of Energy with $100 million. We helped get some California funding. And that group is hundreds of researchers across the country. So we every day we actually sat on the Ag Committee helping to start to drive it. The whole focus is to begin to turn impaired water sources into viable water sources. So why can't you use brackish groundwater today? And at the end of it, it took me about a year to figure it out. It's because current desalination technologies generate brine. What do I mean by that? most of current technologies right now are membrane-based, reverse osmosis, forward osmosis, electrodialysis reversal. They take salts out of one portion of the water and they concentrate those salts in the remaining portion. Now you can clean the first 80% or 90% of brackish groundwater for about 40 cents a cubic meter. But the minute you start talking about what do I do with the brine, you're talking deep well injection, trucking it to an ocean outfall. You're looking at costs that are 30 to 70 times much per cubic meter than you were for the water itself, the water that you cleaned. So at the end of the day, every project we looked at for the first 3.5 years, and we were talking to vendors all over the world, we couldn't do it because the cost of brine blew the economics of the project out. So we've now developed a whole basket of technologies that are all of them just coming into commercialization. Some are still just beginning to go into pilots, et cetera. But the first one is we figured out one of our partners figured out how to get higher water recovery in first stage desalination. So we did a pilot for Ventura County just before COVID hit. We hit 96% recovery. That's unprecedented. Generally, if you're talking RO or something like that, you're talking 85, 75, something like that. By getting much higher first stage recovery, you shrink the expensive brine down. Second thing we're doing is we're just bringing into commercialization a technology that takes that brine that's left and drops out the salts. We bubble in an organic molecule that's actually used in the food industry today, and it literally, when it goes in, it's hydrophilic. All the salts, the water gloms onto this organic molecule. The salts literally precipitate out. And so between those two processes, we actually have the first economic total desalination process where we can go from your well water to zero brine at a cost of about $750 an acre foot. And we're willing to build plants for you that do that. I mean, we'll own and operate it for you, or you can buy the equipment yourself. But for the first time, we have a viable path to doing brackish groundwater, tailwater, seawater intrusion. They can all be used as new water supplies to build resiliency. And just as a side comment, that also means that you're going to be removing salts out of your groundwater basin. For example, if you have water that's about 1,500 TDS, you're going to pull out 2 tons of salts out of your groundwater basin for every acre foot you treat. And we actually have another technology coming along in our pipeline where we're going to actually be able to take those salts and recycle them back into the manufacturing sector. Market size, 12 million acre foot need just across 8 western states. We're looking at a market size of $70 billion. We just, your comment about 5 years is great because we're 5 years old. We just closed our first $2 million sale with Ventura County 2 weeks ago. We're about to close a second $3 million sale with taking brine from an RO at one of the biggest greenhouses in the state and getting to zero liquid discharge. We think next year we'll hit 10 million in sales, and the following year we'll probably hit 30 or 40 million in sales. Our function is as a project developer and a system integrator, meaning we have this basket of technologies. We currently work with about a dozen inventors, small companies, et cetera, who we think have outstanding breakthroughs that they're working on. And we're going to bring those into the market and begin to pilot them. Western Growers, will be working with them to begin to locate farmers. Just out of our presentation a couple weeks ago in San Diego, we already have a whole handful of pilots starting to come forward. We have team members who have built and run literally $2 billion companies. So I'm a founder. Jeanette Lombardo, who many of you may know, she's been heavily involved in the ag sector for all of her some 30 years or so. And she basically was the one who came to me 5 years ago and said, you've got to do this. You've got to figure out how to get this breakthrough. Because she sat on a bunch of water boards and she saw Sigma, what it was going to do. And we knew we had to begin to create new water supplies. Jim Thompson, who's our CFO and COO, was running $250 million operations for Ford, for Visteon, Johnson Controls. Terry Ma, who's chairman of our board, he was actually the CEO of Veolia Water until he stepped down a couple years ago. He was running a $2 billion business line. Casey Howling, who some of you may know, Howling's Tomatoes, he's just joined our board. And then Bob Rudnick from an old Bakersfield ranching family also was one of our co-founders. Thank you all very much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Clark. And I will just say on a personal note, my sister sits on the GSA, the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and most of you know Sigma if you're in this room. When you hear the words water and overdraft in the same sentence, you should find Clark. So our fourth presenter for the AgSharks is Ingrid Sarlandi from Nioh Technologies, and I think this technology is very cool.
I lost it. Good. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ingrid. I'm the CEO at Nioh Technology. We are the world leader when it comes to autonomous ag robots. First, I'd like us to pause and just recognize all the challenges you are facing every day. Labor shortage and increasing cost, and it's not going to get any better soon. The thin margin, with the population increasing, we really need to secure a sustainable food system. And last but not least, there's definitely, as mentioned before, an increasing regulation pressure, in particular to ban the use of pesticides. And at Nioh, what we want to achieve is really to promote a sustainable agriculture for you. Sustainable, yes, but profitable at the same time. And let me tell you how we can do this. So you can see our nice video playing here. So Nioh, we have developed our software and our robots that enable us to automate agricultural tasks, and at the same time collect data to provide real-time monitoring for you. What we do is we collect data from cameras, sensors, lasers. We feed them into our artificial intelligence model, and we automate agricultural tasks. As you can see on the video, we can address a large versatility of crops: carrots, lettuce, romaine, leeks, garlic, parsley, you name it, we will address it. And we have developed our own range of robots. Today, we have 3 different robots available on the market that allows us to really address small-scale field, large-scale field, as well as vineyards. We can operate up to 6 to 8 acres a day. Our robots run fully electric. They can run up to 8 hours, and then you plug them at home, at the shop, and get them charged for another 8 hours, and they're good to go for the next day. Beginning 2022, our new generation of robot is coming, and we'll be able to do battery swaps. So that means you can just run the robots for 8 hours, swap the battery, and go for another 8-hour shift. And this is really the solution to reduce labor costs and to reduce the usage of pesticides, but at the same time increasing your profit and your yield. No more skilled driver needed to operate the robots. You just plug it in your field, and it gets the job done. As you can see, the idea is really to operate a fleet of robots, so to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 robots operating at the same time within your field. The way we run our business, we have 2 different distribution channels. We sell our robots, so you can just call us, and I'd be happy to open the order book for you today. And the other way is the robot as a service. What does it mean, robot as a service? It means faster return on investment for you. It means you call us, let us know you have 200 acres of lettuce to be weeded, and we'll be there the next week ready to weed the field for you. So it's plug and play. You just call us and we'll be there. And again, faster return on investment for you. What makes us unique is really we have this pay-per-use model that is very easy for growers to start working with us, to start to know and understand our technology and see by themselves that we can make them save up to 50% in their wheeling costs. We run fully electric. We can address a large variety of crops. And our system is world recognized when it comes to safety. Safety for the operators, for the growers, and for the crops as well. We've already deployed more than 230 units worldwide. So we have already logged over 60,000 hours of operation in autonomous ag robotics. This is an achievement we are very proud of because we know our technology can be trusted. And in California, we've started operating over 2 years ago. And really the way we've developed our business is by talking to your growers, by understanding your needs. And then we've managed to grow thanks to the word of mouth. And that's what really matters to us, really addressing your needs and offer you a solution that at the end of the day is valuable for you and makes you save money. So we have a team of over 70 people working on this. I'm not going to lie to you. We've worked hard to be where we are today, but we've also partnered with the best in the sector. In particular, UC Davis. We like running impact studies with UC Davis in your fields to really help you document and understand what the positive impact Nioh can bring to you. And yeah, so all this hard work and all this discussion with the growers really allow us to develop the best technology available so far. It's reliable. We've already logged over 60,000 hours of operations. I really like our robot as a service business model because it makes it very easy for you to work with us. And yeah, over 233 robots already deployed, and we really have sustainability at the core of our DNA, trying to help you. So just feel free to reach out today. I'd be happy to set up a demo for you in your field. And if you want us to document the results with UC Davis to really help you understand what ag robotics and how can ag robotics help you solve all the challenges we mentioned earlier. We're also raising right now, we're closing our rounds of Series Bs. So if there's any investors in the room that might be interested in investing, feel free to reach out to me. And I'd be very happy to have one of Nioh's robots in your field next week.
Great, thanks Ingrid. And if you saw the first panel, you'll know that weeding and thinning and harvest are all automation efforts that are undergoing massive change. And these are the companies that are driving. You saw FarmWise and Verdant. Obviously Nioh is here. As you heard, the one thing these companies want is field trials to get a shot at your business. So to the extent that you have acreage that you can contribute, that's a big mover to get things moving forward. So batting cleanup. Very happy to call to the stage a gentleman I've known now for a couple years. I can remember from Thrive days, the first little burro driving around the Taylor Building parking lot at one of the first Forbes Ag Tech shows. So really happy to see Charlie and the progress he's made, and welcome Charlie Anderson to the stage from Burro, co-founder and CEO.
All right, so I guess the problem we're tackling pretty similar to many of the other things mentioned in the room. I think farmers today are quite literally running out of people. And the issue with the industry is that about 88% of the US crop workforce works in fruit, vegetable, and nursery crops. They're not in the Midwest sitting in a tractor. And if you look at things like table grapes, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, nursery crops, those types of crops, oftentimes north of half of revenue is flowing to labor. And that number is, of course, rising. And to us, the solution to this problem is so clearly robots. We believe that robots are going to solve many of these problems, but most of the stuff in development is, for one, still in development, and secondly, a lot of systems require that you rebuild your farm in order to operate them, and also require specialist operators, which means that you have to sell it as a service. You can't sell it. And to us, the real world needs a solution now, and that's exactly what we have with our launch product, Burrow. We have about 90 of these things running today in paid commercial use, mostly in table grape production, and then to a lesser extent in nursery crops and berries. And what these are people-scale autonomous platforms that are kind of akin to, they're basically Disney's WALL-E in a 1.0 format for agriculture. So people scale, built around computer vision, and mostly just hauling stuff back and forth while working alongside people. But because they are built around vision, they have three dominant benefits to growers. One, they can work under canopies or in areas where you don't have GPS and can't use it for navigation. Two, because they're built around vision, they're actually pretty economical. So relatively cheap, we don't have expensive LiDAR. And then three, every hour we operate, each unit processes 2 terabytes of imagery in the field. And a lot of that imagery is sent centrally. And what that means is that every hour we operate, we are learning a ton about the world in which we operate, and that data can be used to expand the mobility autonomy, to perceive the crop, and then increasingly to start doing things around dexterity. So think picking and de-leafing and those types of tasks. Those are all things that are on our roadmap. And beyond this, I am blown away by how much people riff off of a autonomous vehicle when you hand it to them. So I've got growers using these as cops in their depot yards at night, scanning to make sure that people don't steal trailers. We have people pulling them into nursery operations. We've got people putting UV lights on them to treat powdery mildew. So there are a whole host of different applications that come about once you have a system like this in the field. But of course, none of that matters without an initial sticky value proposition. Typically, we sell them in 6-packs today. Those 6-packs go into the field and out of the field every day on a trailer. And a 6-pack of units can support a 36 to 48 person crew. Each group of 6 people using a single unit are 30 to 50% more productive, which yields a really, really dramatic ROI out of the box. And at the same time, you are buying into this world where we will progressively do more and more things autonomously in the field as well, around things that people do today, which tend to be tasks where you move through the world, perceive stuff around you, and then manipulate things. And so with that, none of this really matters without a tech stack that is really ironclad. In our case, the dominant aspect of our tech stack is that we can be operated by anybody in the field. And we've also really been pressure tested across a bunch of different crops. So these things are going to be used in table grapes, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, nursery crops, and a bunch of other adjacencies. And we're finding that our tech stack generalizes remarkably well because it's built around vision. And it has also been pressure tested. So we're coming up on, or actually have done north of 25,000 autonomous miles across the stack, north of 60,000 hours of operation across 90 units, and we're north of around 15 autonomous miles per user intervention, meaning that the robots can travel about 15 miles before a user has to tell them to do something different. And of course, what this means is that we're now in this really, really interesting space where we can begin to scale quite a bit more. So in 2020, we had 20 units running. This year we had 90, and we're aiming for at least 500 for next year, and also broadening the utility of the device into a couple of different adjacencies. And we're in production now. So we can build about 20 to 25 a week. And we are going into our Generation 8 hardware, which we'll be showing at the World Ag Expo in February. So we'll be showing that for the first time. These are products you can buy. They're on the market today. I have customers buying them and running them. We have about 600 people using the platform every single day. So again, it's a product on the market. It's not a pipe dream. It's a real thing. And so with that, I think what people in this space are really good at doing, I believe, is predicting where the world is going in 20 years. But I think they struggle to understand, or maybe struggle to predict how to win in years 1 through 5. And in our view, in 20 years, you're going to have a whole host of small autonomous platforms running around on farm doing a whole host of different tasks relating to movement, perception, picking, pruning, weeding, all of those other tasks. And the way to win in years 1 through 5 is to build a people-scale platform that starts out built around mobility, learns as it operates, and begins to do more and more things autonomously as well, both going more vertical, or more, you're doing more tasks within a given crop, and also more broadly into other adjacencies. And we have a 30-person team with a background in computer vision-based autonomy, and also a background in industry that is doing this every single day. So with that, if any of this sounds interesting, we're here. We actually have a unit over in the, at the Western Growers tent in the convention center. And if you would like to chat, please reach out. That's my contact information up there. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. Thanks, Charlie. And I look forward to showing the burro off to some of you folks again over at the Western Growers booth in the exhibit area. So with that, I want to call all 5 AgSharks back to the stage. Now, here's the deal, audience. I've got questions I can certainly ask. I was at the Western Growers annual meeting. I've got a lot of questions. It means more when it comes from you guys. So I'll start, but you guys are in charge here, and you're standing between us and a break. So we've got 17 minutes of action-packed questions if we can get them. So AgSharks coming up to the stage, and I'm curious to see who gets the questions. We've got a weeding robot, we've got 2 biologicals, we've got a water solution, we've got a harvest assist with the burro. So I'll open it up. Who's got questions for us? And address it to any specific startup you'd like or to the group. Oh, yes. Who's first?
My question is for the robot company. What's the current state of Cal OSHA regulations as it relates to autonomous tractors?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. We're working closely with regulators to see how things are changing. Today, we still have to have 1 operator within a close range of the robots, but it can monitor 2 robots. But the thing is, our operator right now is here also to check the quality of the work being done by the robots. It is setting up the tools and checking that the job is starting in a good way. So for now, it's not. It's okay for us to operate this way, and we're working closely with regulators to see this constraint being loosened up. But since we operate as a fleet of robots, the idea is really to have 1 operator for a fleet of robots.
So I can tackle this a little bit differently. So we meet an ANSI spec, and we're a 300-pound vehicle, very similar to what you have, or very similar to something where there are thousands of them running in warehouses today. So our form factor and scale and scope of the product is quite a bit different. Separately, if you have 6 or 8 people working alongside a robot, they are effectively operating it. And so the scale and what we do is quite a bit different than the OSHA regulation, which I believe is designed more for larger platforms. And I think we're actually really designed to prevent someone from taking like a TS6 with a harvest day aid platform on the back of it and pulling the operator out of the cab. And that just really doesn't apply to what we do.
I think we're seeing both of that. You know, I personally think that within probably 5 to 10 years, there will no longer be any sewer effluent going into the ocean anymore. There won't be any brine lines going. All of that is water that needs to be treated. But it's very, we have a grower in Ventura County. He currently uses 5,000 acre feet a year. Sigma, he's got to face cuts of 45%. And luckily, he's got seawater intrusion on his property. He also has tile water runoff. And for him, it's an investment. Clearly, we see a path where we're coming in now at 750 an acre foot. We see technologies coming along in our sort of basket, our toolbox, that we think we're going to be able to drive that down. Clearly also, for many farmers, this is going to be resiliency, meaning this won't be their sole source. This is the one that keeps them alive, though, when there's 0 water coming in their allotment that year. So, you know, it's a different perspective, and it's definitely for high-value crops to start with.
Yeah, we'd much rather spend it with you than on litigation.
I see too much of that going on in Ventura County, yes.
Clark, a follow-up question. Is there a scales at which this is not, that you need to be at to make this viable for growers?
We're interested in anything that's, if a grower needs like 300 acre feet a year and above, we're interested. In some cases, we're interested below. For example, I'm looking at a couple of small greenhouses right now that just have a brine problem. So, we're basically looking at 200 GPM and up.
Neil, I think you had a question, probably for Jamie. And Bruce.
That wouldn't be fair, so I'll recuse myself now. Actually, it was similar to what was asked previously. It's about your customer, the water side, right? In some of the cases here, it's very obvious who the customer is.
Yes.
Or your preferred customer for growth.
Yeah.
You talked about counties and farmers
Yeah.
and the cost structure. What do you see the next years of development of your customers? Are they counties? Are they cities?
I can only tell you the types of people we're talking to today. For example, we have a tomato grower up in Woodland, 5,000 acres. Too much boron in his water. It's a big issue. I've got avocado growers, similar issue. Berry growers, lots of them organic, who want to create a designer profile for their water, a particular profile of nutrients. They can't because the underlying water quality is too bad for them to do it. So they want to get down to a salt-free level to build up. We're basically seeing just a wide range. The contract with Ventura County is from a sewer treatment plant where we're going to clean that water so it can be used for groundwater recharge in the Piru water basin. That's an ag basin. So we're just seeing a wide range of opportunities. The job we're going to be for the greenhouse, they have existing RO units that only get 75% recovery. States told them they don't get to, they've been dumping the brine on the ground up to now. Not going to be allowed any longer. Why? Because it destroys the groundwater basin. So we're going to take that brine and get zero liquid discharge, pick up basically a quarter of their water that they currently use will now come through this system. It happens to match their Sigma cutbacks. Oh, and also produced water. Yeah. we actually are having our first pilots set up with oil companies who want to start using beneficial reuse on the produced water. 400,000 acre-feet a year in California is currently being wasted. That's available if it can be treated at an economically attractive price point.
And as you ask questions, I've inadvertently taken the audience mic up on the stage with me. So ask loudly for the virtual audience. Yes?
This was a Burrow bag, Rich name, sorry. On your Burrow, those standard units look great in grapes and that, but a lot of what we grow around here between strawberry, vegetable thing, we need to fit into those rows. I don't see any versions in your deal that show that it fits our rows. Is there adaptations to get clearance or get row spacing on those units?
Yeah, I think the hard part is integrating the vision and the mobility into something that works. Once you have something that's really pressure tested, then scaling up or down or cross becomes much more seamless. We haven't fully assessed where we should go next there, but something like that certainly could be on the roadmap.
No, it's interesting you mentioned that. We actually do a lot of field visits and field trials as part of our events with Western growers. And we went to Primetime and saw some of the peppers. And that was the first thing they said was, oh my goodness, how can the Burrow do peppers? And between the kids at Santa Clara University and Charlie's team, hopefully we'll come up with something. But Charlie's exactly right. It's not easy, but there is work going on to fit that. It's a great question. Ag format is not perfect for ag tech in all cases. Yes, Vonnie Estes.
Question for Charlie. So you had a picture of the machine doing some picking, and you talked about doing picking and de-leafing. So how close are you to having something like that? And that's a huge leap from moving up and down rows. And so what kind of software and hardware has to be developed for you to be able to do that?
Yeah, so I have kind of two answers to this, and I'm actually not sure what the right one is yet. We're trying to figure it out. So path one we're going down is actually just doing picking ourselves. We are able to harvest about like 20 to 25% of visible grape clusters in a very early stage setting right now, and anticipate having an alpha product next year running at very low volume to try to fully refine it. And I think developing this stuff, it's kind of like falling up a flight of stairs, hitting your chin on every step. You have to do it repetitively over and over again to get it to work. Separately, if you think about how PCs evolved, you had platforms with point-and-click interface. You'll have a Dell computer, Microsoft Office, and then people will build different applications on top. And it seems to me like we could be the people-scale platform onto which other people doing harvesting in indoor settings might place their device to do harvesting and outdoors. So I'm not quite sure which is the right answer at this juncture. We're trying to kind of play both and figure out where the world goes.
Other questions? Yes?
Maybe one more, since it was quiet. It's about the two robotics companies. It seems to me that the competition level is far vaster than the 5 you think about autonomous robotics, all the things from row crops to specialty crops. You mentioned, I think, Charlie, about the IP position you have. How important is an IP strategy for you, and how protected are you in terms of competition?
You want to go first? Or?
You're welcome to, I guess. You guys have been around for longer too, to be fair.
No.
First in gets the IP.
Yeah.
So Nioh Technology, we've been around for 10 years now, and we've been very protective about our technology. We develop both our software and our hardware, and we highly patented the hardware, the safety part of our solution. And we've protected also our software. Yes, we have competitors, and I think it's a good thing. The ag tech market is expected to reach $21 billion by 2026. So if there are 20 of us divided a market of 20 billion, it's good enough. And I think because we have to address like a large variety of crops, a large variety of services, there's room for a lot of competitors, and because we've already been here for 10 years, we kind of know what we're doing, and we just welcome anyone that can help us in the way.
Yeah, and I guess, so from my perspective, I certainly agree the space is heating up. When I go to like the World Ag Expo or kind of walk trade shows, I don't actually see a lot of stuff for sale. And so you kind of have this irony where I think there's money flowing in, there's interest in it, but to get a product into the market, you need many generations, tens of thousands of hours and miles of operation over many, many different growers to actually get something refined. And nobody can skip all those steps and get a product into the marketplace. So I think that there are a number of people that are I think, getting there or are there. But a lot of the noise that I hear when somebody has a new laser zapping robot or this or that, like, are they really on the market? Can you really buy it? Second from that, there are some core pieces of intellectual property I think are really formidable and are very difficult to sidestep. In our case, we have a utility patent filed globally on an approach to teaching a robot over roots that doesn't require central control. And if you're going to go into a vineyard or nursery setting or anywhere where you have less than a bar or two of service, you have to train something in that form to have it work in that space. And I think that there are going to be some core snippets that are very difficult for other later comers to sidestep.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll add to the startup answers is, we've launched the Global Harvest Automation Initiative at Western Growers back in February. And the more we look at this space, it's interesting, Neil, 1/3 of it's probably about the robot, right? 2/3 of it is about the business model and the go-to-market. So as we have conversations between startups and growers, and I'll go back to Charlie because I was able to see the burrow in a field a couple weeks ago over in Reedley. The work to get the burrow integrated with a manual harvest crew, right, and get that crew performing at optimal efficiency with economics takes months, right? And so a labor crew is breaking off one dedicated labor member to manage the burrows, to optimize the ratio of burrows to people. And that's where this is going, right, is toward people working with the machines to optimize both of those as a unit. And you heard the biological folks say, hey, I'm coming to market in a year. I could use some field trials now. The lead times on this stuff are long. They're not asking for field trials because they want them. They're asking for field trials because they need them. And so, again, I think this stuff takes a while. These guys are doing the work. And, again, the more collaboration, more conversation we get going here at this event and in the exhibitor area, the better. So with that, I will pause and send us to, one more question. Joe, yes?
One more question. I find it fascinating that, we're all excited about the robots, of course. And I remember Charlie from 5 years ago at some former AgShark competition. And it's exciting, right? But then I think about the fact that an organization like Clark's is essentially doing the less flashy work of selling $2 and $3 million deals to municipalities to solve real, actual, immediate problems. And you folks all are doing wonderful work, so I just applaud you all for having all these wonderful solutions for all these different problems. Congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Joe. So let's give everyone a big round of applause to the AgSharks. The QR code is on the screen for those that are looking for CEU credit, and we'll see you at the exhibit area and at break. Thank you.